Hey you all, also hi to fellow dressmakers. You're welcome to another interesting tutorial. My name is Confidence. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to sew a panel blouse or a pieces blouse. In last video, I shared the drafting and the cutting of these pieces. And in this video, we'll be putting all of these pieces together. So if you're yet to see the previous video, kindly check that out so that this particular video will make more sense to you. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the tutorial proper. So these are the pieces we cut out from the last video, and here I have the center front which I cut on fold, and I pressed in one layer of paper stay on both the fashion fabric and then the lining. Then on the Ankara fabric, you can see I have one layer of wadding that stops exactly at the under bust. Okay, then I have the side front. I have two pieces of that, and then I also cut out two pieces of lining for it and pressed in one layer of paper stay on both the fashion fabric and then the lining. And then just like the center front, I have the wording at the bust area. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and start putting all of these pieces together. And first I'll take the center front and just place it this way, right? And then I'm going to take one of the side, right side facing right side, and then match up the under bust notch. That is very important. So I'm going to match it up and then I'll pin it down. You can decide to pin it all the way to the up and all the way to the down, but what I will do is I'll go ahead and join it from down to the top, making sure that the under bust notch are still matching up with the other one. I'll do the same thing for this other side. I'll match up the under bust and then pin it down, then go ahead and join it following the curves and lines I have on the pattern. Okay, I'll do the same thing for the lining too, and after that this is what it looks like. So this is what it looks like before ironing it. I'll go ahead and iron it. But before ironing, there's something that I usually do. Okay, if you have watched my previous videos, you must have seen that. But if it's your first time, before ironing the bustier area, I like to peel off the wording just on the stitching allowance, right? Just on the stitching allowance. Don't worry about it. Once you're doing it, once you already stitched it down, you will just peel off just the stitching allowance. Okay, so I'll take it off there, just the wording, right? And then after gently peeling it off, right, I'm going to carefully trim, making sure I'm not cutting off my fabric and I'm also not cutting through the stitch line. That's the stitching. Okay, I'll trim it off this way that you can see it. Then I'll go ahead and repeat the same thing on this other side and even on the other part of the bustier. Okay, so after peeling it off, I cut it off, then I'll go ahead and notch it on the curvier part of the bustier and go ahead and press open the seams. I'll do the same thing for the lining. Then I'll go ahead and follow the same process to join the back pieces. Yeah. So this one right here is the center back. I'll take off the pattern this way. Then I'll take one of them and then take the purple one, which is the side back. Okay, I'll be matching up the one that will be right side facing right side. That's how you know which one is the right one. Okay, make sure you're not placing it on the center back, and then I'm going to match it up and pin it down. From the last video, I say that I ended up cutting the dart, even though while cutting the pattern I didn't cut it out, but I ended up cutting the dart just as you can see it here now, and then I added that allowance to the side. Go ahead and watch the previous video, right? So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the lining too. I'll go ahead and join with ½ inch, iron it, and this is what I have. Okay, so this one right here is the front piece. It's now a piece, okay, because I've joined the pieces. And then I did the same thing for the lining too. I pressed open the seam just to make it very neat. I also did the same thing for the back. After joining, I pressed open the same lines, and I did the same thing for the lining too, just to make sure my work is very neat. Okay, so now the next thing I'll be doing is to go ahead and trim off this part that you can see that is very pointy. Okay, you can't just leave it like that, and it's easier to do it after joining your pieces. So I'll do the same thing for the fashion fabric too. Then I'll go ahead and repeat and fold it into two, just as you can see me do it here, and trim off about 1.5 on the side, just so it's equal on both sides. Now after that, I'm going to fold the line in two and place it on the fashion fabric, then go ahead and trim it off, following the trace it out with what I already have on the fashion fabric. I'll repeat the same thing on the back pieces. And then after that, after trimming off all this part that you can see me trimming off, I'm going to match up the lining right side facing right side. Then I'm going to place the fashion fabric again on the lining, just match it up. These are the sides, okay? That's the sides, not the center back. Then I'm going to pin it down and then take the front, which I already trimmed out, and use it to trace out on the lining and on the fashion fabric of the back. Okay, so what I'll be doing now is to go ahead and spread this front piece this way, then place the lining right side facing right side this way, and then match up all the scallop parts, like the pointy parts of the neckline. First I'll match it up, like pin it down on the center of the neckline this way. Then I'll go ahead and just turn the neckline with about half inch. So whenever I'm doing this kind of neckline, what I like to do is to take my pencil and highlight all the sharp points. Just this way, I'll just mark it straight, just highlight it, make sure it's a straight line, all these points. Then when I'm done doing that, I'll do as if, like, mark it the same way I'll corner when I stitch to that point. Like, you can decide to just mark your half inch following all that point, but doing it this way is very easy for me. So after that, I went ahead to stitch the neckline with a hemming gum, so that by the time I iron it, it's going to be smooth and nice on that point. And after stitching, I also top stitched on the lining just to hold the fabric in place, okay, just to hold the lining in place so that it will not be popping out. Okay, now the next thing I'll do is to go ahead and flip the lining in a way that is going to be right side facing right side again. Then I'm going to trim off half inch on the lining, just on the hem this way, half inch. This is to ensure that after when the person wears the blouse, the lining will not be popping out. Okay, then I'm going to take my 3 inches crinoline. You can use 2 inches if you so wish. I'll trim off the excess I have on the edges, like the rough part, and then tape it down with my masking tape. And you already know how we do the crinoline part on this channel. Okay, so I'm going to match up the line in this way. You can decide to pin it down. Then I'll give a space of about 3.5 inches, and then I'll place my hemming gum, just as you can see me do it here. It's very simple. Just place it exactly on your desired sewing allowance. That's like, if you join with half inch, you're going to place it on your half inch, then you're going to start stitching. When you get to where the crinoline is, you're going to stitch just on the tip of the crinoline, just on that tip, okay? And then you're also going to leave a space before the end of the other fabric, just as you can see me do it here. So after turning it, you should have something like this, and you can see that I maintained my half inch stitching allowance, right? Now I'm going to take my UHU gum. You can use any liquid glue of choice, right? Here I'm trying to make sure that I'm using the right one. So I intentionally buy this particular UHU because I know this is the inferior one. So I buy it and use it just for crinoline, this kind of crinoline stuff. Then I use the other quality one when I'm doing a more serious job, okay? So after applying the gum on the tip of the crinoline, that's where you did not stitch on, I'm going to place the hemming gum on it this way, just as you can see me do it here. And after that, I'll go ahead and turn the sides. You can see it's still very much open. I'm going to match up the lining on the armhole part, then go ahead and stitch it with about 0.25. And then I'm going to repeat the same process I use on this front and do the back. And after all of that, this is what I have. Can you see? So I'm yet to iron it. I've gone ahead to stitch the sides, right? And now, since I'm not using a steaming iron, what I'll be doing is I'll sprinkle some water, and then I'm going to place the hot iron on it. This is the neckline, and remember I said I stitched it with a hemming gum. So steaming it to melt to the hemming gum and make your fabric stick together and make it nice and smooth on that end. Okay, Then I'm going to also repeat the same thing on the hem of the blouse. I'll sprinkle water enough to help steam that part. Then I'll place the hot iron on it. Few seconds, then I'll take it to the other side, sprinkle some water and place the iron on it. And after I'm done, I'm going to iron the rest part of the blouse this way, okay? So iron it smoothly, both on the inside and on the outside. I repeat the same thing, like I did the same thing on the back pattern, and this is what we have. I have the two pieces for the back, and then this is what the front looks like. Can you see how smooth and seamless it's looking? Okay, so what I'll be doing now is to go ahead and fix my zipper with my added zipper allowance. And what I like to do is I like to come up half inch before the hem of the blouse. That's like where the zipper would stop. Okay, so after fixing the zipper, this is what it looks like. Okay, the next thing I'll be doing now is to go ahead and place the front on it, right side facing right side. Then we'll be joining the shoulder. This is why i I was very careful while drafting this shoulder part, just so the joining on the shoulder will align. So you're going to just open it up this way, both the front and then the back shoulder, and then you match up carefully. You match up the joining. This part is very important if you want it to be neat afterwards. Okay, so you're going to match up the joining and then you pin it down. You can decide to pin the other parts down. Then this other part, you're also going to match up the joining you have there. Make sure they are really matching up and then you pin it down. Then I'll go ahead and go over to my sewing machine and stitch it with about half inch. Like I'll join it with half inch. I'll do the same thing for this other side, and this is what it looks like afterwards. Can you see that? So the blouse is coming out together and the neckline is actually very nice. Okay, so now I'm going to do the final measurement before we work on the sleeve. I'll measure the bust measurement divided by 2. I'll mark it, then I'll measure the allowance I have left and share it equally on both sides. I'll go to the waist and do the waist measurement divided by 2. I'll mark it, then I'll measure the allowance I have left and share it equally on both side. It's very simple. Okay, so after that I'm going to connect the measurement I have on the waist to the one I have on the bust area, and then I'll take it all the way down. And after that we'll go ahead and work on the sleeve. Okay, but if you usually close your garment before fixing the sleeve, feel free to do that now. Then you work on the sleeve and fix it later. But I won't be doing that today. I'll first cut out the sleeve and then fix it before closing the blouse with the measurement I just did. So here I folded this sleeve and it's just 14 by 14. The length I'm using 14 and the width I folded it with 14 inches, meaning that it's 14 by 14. By the time I open it up, it's going to be 28 inches, the width, right? But then the length will remain 14 inches. So I'll connect it this way straight. Then I'll come down here by 5 inches and give it that sleeve curve, just as you can see it here. Then this part is just going to be straight. I ended up using 5.5 to curve the sleeve this way. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting it out now, I'm going to trace it out on my black lining. Then I'll go ahead and cut paper stay for the Ankara fabric, then hard stay for the lining. So it's going to be paper stay, that's the one you people know as tissue stay. And then this one is the hard stay on the lining. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to place this one, that's the Ankara fabric, this way, and then I'm going to sew it on the hem, and after that I'll top stitch and then flip it to the right side and hold it down, like stitch it just to hold it down on this part that will be going to the armhole. So after that I have this excess on the lining and I'm just trimming it out. It's very simple. Now I'll come to this side and come down by 1 inch. From that 1 inch, I'll go down to 2.75 and go down again to 2.75. I have these 3 points. Then I'll be folding this sleeve, folding it in 2 equal halves, and then notch what I just marked on one side on the other side. Okay, I'm just going to notch just to indicate it on the other side. It's very simple. Then I'm trying to highlight the center or the midpoint of the sleeve. which you can just decide to iron it to create that crease line because you will need it. Now I'm going to fold from the first notch, right? I'm going to fold it this way, then use my hand to like flat it. I'll flatten it just to create that crease line. Then I'm going to place it downwards to the second notch. If this will be hard for you to calculate, you're simply going to mark the same thing you have on the side on this midpoint. Whatever markings, those part that I notched on the side, you're going to like just mark it on the center, like the midpoint of the sleeve, just so it will be easy for you to follow it on and fold. Then I'm going to fold from the second notch and place it on the third notch. This sleeve is very simple. Okay, so you can decide to iron or you just leave it this way. But I think I'll take this again. So I'm going to remove the pin. Then I'll fold. Make sure your first folding is going to the first notching you have on the side. Then you're going to place it on the second notch. Then you fold again and place it on the third notch. You should have something like this by the time you're done. Now I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. You can use your hand needle to just tack it here, but I'll be using machine to just stitch just about half inch just to hold it in place there. And I'll do the second one. And after that, this is what I have. This is the two sleeves. If you want this to be very obvious, okay, if you want to highlight it, go ahead and iron the pleats you have here. But I just want it this way. I think I've seen this sleeve somewhere before. I can't remember, but I just wanted to do it on this blouse. Now I'm going to take the blouse back, right? Then I'm going to match it up from the hem to the armhole, just as you can see me do it here. Then I'm going to trim off the excess and do the same thing on the other side. Then I'll trim off the excess on the shoulder and then bring in the sleeve, match up the midpoint this way. I'll simply start from the armhole and pleat the excess, making sure I match up the midpoint of the sleeve to the midpoint of the shoulder. And that's it. After that, your blouse is ready. So this will be the end of our tutorial today. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section and I'll see you on my next one. Be good. Bye.